Hi, folks. Bob Mattery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
Everybody, I'm Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, and everybody's got a price for lazy booking. Hey, this is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, and you're listening to Lazy Booking. No, it's true. It's damn true. Ho! Hey, folks, I'm WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and if you want to know what's going on in wrestling, check out Lazy Bookings. Ho!
And we welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Lazy Booking right here on A2DRadio.com, live from the BMW Atlantic City Studios here in Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. Brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, your certified public accountants, located at 301 Oxford Valley Road in Yardley, PA. And you can give them a call, 215-369-3300. Remember, tax season is here, so be ready, be prepared, get Gibson Mayer.
Great paper slam, Matty. As always, guys, the Shield is back together this week. All right. Welcome back to Lazy Booking Live here on A2DRadio.com, live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Periscope. Join us, guys. We're going to get to that Scanzano poll question. Poll question of the week, guys, with the announcement of the inaugural NXT North American Champion, the secondary title for NXT, which I love. Mm-hmm. Who's going to win the match? It's a ladder match. We have Adam Cole, baby.
Yeah.
Baby. EC3, Velveteen Dream, or other. We're going to touch on that. We're going to touch on a Fastlane. We're going to have a Fastlane preview. Raw Smackdown, some things went down on there. Some other news that may affect WrestleMania plans. I'm sure WrestleMania is going to be a conversation point. So, yeah, guys, chime in. Join us. I'm Mike Chromiak. I got Mikey Materacky here. Madison Studio as usual.
Hey, it's big sexy to you, all right?
That's big sexy. All right.
Sorry, man.
Feeling the heat over here. I'm feeling it already.
Blizzard stir craziness.
We got Frank Vespi over here. Frank's stepping in this week, joining us, running the ones and twos. Frank? So, guys, I know Mike said you wanted to start it out, throw out a little thing here for our folks here with the weather we've had.
We understand that with the weather over the past week now at this point, going back to last Friday,
rough.
we understand It's been a rough week. There's a lot of people out there that don't have power, people using their cars to charge their cell phones. We also understand that it's a real busy night in Philly sports. You got the Flyers, Sixers, Villanova, and Temple all in action tonight. So if you're taking the time out of your day to join us for a little talk of the squared circle, we just want to let you guys know that we really appreciate you joining us. Chime in. Let's have some fun tonight. A lot of comments. Keep it loose. Keep it live, and let's do something, all right?
Yeah. Listen, we got a little extra eye candy up here. We got Asuka because nobody's ready for Asuka.
No,
we got
you might be ready for Asuka.
I am always ready for Asuka. We got our A2D bombshell that was up, what was it, last night?
Yeah, it was.
And fucking sweeps, man.
I was just going to say, we had our bombshell up last night, but somebody had to add a little fuel to the fire to keep Sweeps happy.
Sweeps. And then we, of course, are on the GOAT wall, the jobber GOAT of all time. Fucking Tito's back this week, guys. So it's going to be a good time. And then already Richard Thunder Doyle, he says EC3 is going to win the match. I think it's going to be really intriguing. I'm really excited to talk about this because I think this is huge for NXT. And by the way, the NXT card, the way it's wrapping up for TakeOver in New Orleans, looks absolutely freaking sick.
You say, who is that?
That's me.
Is that
I turned it down. I know. I know.
Busting my couillons about making sure my phone is down.
Well, you know what? I turned it down halfway, turned to you to tell yours down, and forgot to turn it down the other half.
That's genius.
It's a common mistake.
It's a beautiful thing. It is an absolute beautiful thing.
Listen, nobody's perfect.
Could have happened to anyone.
I'm lazy as fuck. That's why they call it lazy booking, guys.
Speaking of which, did you see my post the other night?
Which one?
I think I dropped it out there Tuesday night during SmackDown. and we may get to this later on, but
Well, SmackDown's tough because I'm on the air doing Birds of a Feather.
You're doing Birds with a Feather.
So I catch SmackDown after.
I did drop a lazy booking reference out there with regards to the fact that it was announced Monday night on Raw that the Intercontinental title match is going to be a triple threat.
Yeah.
So what do on Tuesday? They start planting the seeds for a U.S. title triple threat.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen.
So could the booking be any lazier?
Well, I think the Intercontinental title match is going to grow even beyond that, but we'll get into that, I'm sure.
Well, this is kind of interesting already. We got
hit YouTube. Let's see what we
David
got from
Raska
YouTube.
chiming in. And believe it or not, I don't know what's more remarkable about the fact that it's not about Mandy Rose.
Wow.
It is not about Mandy Rose.
Floored.
Wait, hold on. David Raska, I sent you a friend request on Facebook because there was something specific that happened in the world of sports, non-wrestling related, that I wanted to talk to you about. So accept my damn friend request and let's do this. And now I can't even remember what I wanted to talk to him about either.
Was it about the Rams or the Chargers or the Ducks?
It was probably about the Rams.
Ah, gotcha.
They're going back to St. Louis.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah.
All right, so Raska chimed in saying John Cena will walk out as a new 17th time WWE champion at Fastlane this year. And
Not on a minor pay-per-view. I don't think so anyway.
I don't know. That's tough.
He also said Ruby Riott upset Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship.
Wow, he's fucking really calling some shots.
Although, I could very easily see Ruby Riott winning the belt as a means of protecting Charlotte from Asuka. So Ruby Riott wins the belt in some screwjob finish. Asuka gets the belt at WrestleMania, and then Charlotte enters the program to go to SummerSlam against Asuka.
Nah, I don't see it. Asuka and Charlotte, that's the program for WrestleMania.
Oh,
that's the one that people buy into.
I completely agree. But if they want to drag it out, who knows?
The weird part is they're still really just trying to do this bait and switch because they're just constantly harping home that Alexa's facing Asuka at WrestleMania. If they're really favoring it on Raw, and they're not even hinting at the idea that Asuka could just show up on SmackDown and challenge Charlotte. They're not even hinting at it. At this point.
And I don't think that's by accident. It's so weird that she hasn't announced who she's going against, but yet they continue to say she's facing Alexa Bliss, and I don't know that I see it going that way. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting, guys. I think this is going to end up being a throwaway pay-per-view. Personally, I know you have a few
I've got
wrenches thrown in.
I do, and I understand that they may be a little off the wall, but at least in the grand scheme of things, they could make sense.
Right.
So, I mean, do you want to dive into that now, or do you want to go?
Let's hold off on the pay-per-view. Let's get into the poll question because that is definitely that's the lead. It's a huge announcement. I think it's going to create a lot of intrigue. NXT New Orleans, TakeOver New Orleans, the card is looking so good. It's going to be – and honestly, with them going against the Ring of Honor show that's going to have Omega and Cody, they have to – a lot of people feel like they have to build up this big card to compete with that. Personally, I don't because everything I've heard, ticket sales haven't been great. I mean, you could still get good seats for that Ring of Honor show. And that's having probably the two biggest, if you would call them independent wrestling names. But guys, let's just say guys outside of WWE, because they do New Japan, and I don't consider New Japan any kind of an independent organization whatsoever. But freelance talents, we'll say that. Independent contractors. That's the word they use, right?
It's interesting that you say that, though, because I actually believe that one of the things that's hurting the Ring of Honor show is the fact that Lucha Underground and Impact are running a combined cooperative, whatever you want to call it. Because I think Lucha Underground on their own, Impact on their own, no way.
Right.
But when you put Impact and Lucha Underground together and you're running the show, same weekend where you have, and you've done the WrestleMania weekend how many times where you know that there's only so many places you can be on each given day. And I actually think there's a curiosity factor with the Lucha Underground and Impact combined show that's not going to take away from any of the WWE stuff, but it may take away from the Ring of Honor stuff.
Well, what I find interesting about it is having that combined show. I look at the big names that are left in Impact Wrestling. John Morrison, Alberto Del Rio. All guys who compete in Lucha Under, who have recently competed in Lucha Underground.
I'm waiting for you to get to a big name.
Yeah, I mean, arguably, those guys would be big names. In the Lucha world,
Agreed.
John Morrison was a huge name.
I know.
So, I'm looking at these guys, and it's just, it's not anything I haven't seen. It's not like seeing a Bobby Lashley going against some of the Lucha stars, or even seeing a James Storm doing a crossover. Those guys aren't there anymore. So I don't see the huge appeal to it. I mean, to me, if I'm going to that show, it's to see Lucha Underground. Because to see Lucha Underground and guys who maybe aren't competing in it now, I missed the boat on seeing them compete in Lucha, getting a chance to see them go back for a one night only or something.
And that's fair, but I'll throw one curveball out there. What is the biggest, and I'll throw the air quotes up too, what is the biggest quote unquote mainstream angle in professional wrestling right now outside of WWE?
Oh, to me, it's Cody and Omega. It's the Bullet Club.
See, but I mean that. I'm going to disagree. I think long term the answer is yes, but I think short term, especially given, and here's the hint is the hint that it just aired, even though it technically happened 8 weeks ago, and that's the Sami Callihan Eddie Edwards incident where Callahan hits Edwards in the face with the baseball bat.
Yeah, and I definitely want to discuss that tonight.
Gets covered by TMZ. There's a whole lot of stuff going on now, whether, Sami Callihan not showing any remorse. Is it kayfabe? Is it not? Eddie Edwards is saying that he and Sami Callihan haven't even spoken since the incident. Is that kayfabe? Is it not? Are these guys trying to take an accident that happened in the ring and just do some real good business with it?
I think so.
And is that show, that Lucha Underground and Impact show in New Orleans, going to be headlined by some sort of Eddie Edwards, Sami Callihan, no holds barred, last man standing, steel cage, baseball bat on a pole if you want to go the Russo, the Russo method,
Since Judy Bagwell's not available.
Yeah, right. And that's 2 for Chrome for dropping the Judy Bagwell reference. I love it. But I just feel like if there was any possible way that Ring of Honor was going to be overshadowed that weekend, Impact just fell into it with dumb luck.
Right.
And that could also be a part of it as well.
Well, I think the whole Impact Lucha crossover show initially, because that's more of a recent revelation that's come out, right?
True, agreed.
The ticket sales weren't good for the Ring of Honor show even beforehand. And what that tells me is, no knock, because I love Cody, I love Omega. But when it comes down to it, people will go and watch NXT and will go watch a WWE product over anything else. You can try to throw anything out there you want. And there's
you are 100% correct.
There is no bigger independent main event match to throw out there, or not even independent. I don't want to say that. Non-WWE, like big, massive corporate type of a match than that program right there. It's taken over the internet. But that being said, when it comes down to ticket sales, people will spend $80 on an NXT ticket rather than $30 on an ROH ticket to go see Cody and Kenny Omega. And this is before all these matches were really announced.
Well, but here's the reason why.
And you also have guys like Adam Cole.
Right.
Who also, that crowd, again, Aleister Black, that crowd loves these guys who come from that world.
And you're absolutely right. And Matty, I'm not real sure what you think about this, but from my perspective, the hardcore wrestling fans will try to go to as many shows that weekend as they can.
You're right, yes.
The casual
it's tough,
fans,
it's a long weekend.
yeah,
I've done it.
The casual fans that are there just for the event of WrestleMania will stick to all of the WWE events.
Well, that and also the fact that it is a lot safer in the sense of, especially with kids and such like that. You really don't know, not that indie shows are like ECW-like, but it's just that you don't know the wrestlers, you don't know the storylines, you don't know the gimmicks, you don't know exactly what's going to happen at one of these shows. In WWE, you kind of already know what you're going to get. You're either going to get a little bit of goofiness, a little bit of great action, and a little bit of good promo. That's pretty much what you're going to get in a nutshell, any WWE pay-per-view or show that you go to.
I actually think you made a great point there, because it's real difficult to take a 14-year-old or even like a 10-year-old or 8-year-old casual WWE fan who watches the first 2 hours of Raw or the first 2 hours of SmackDown before they have to go to bed, and then gets to watch, NXT on Wednesday nights and whatever pay-per-view. It's real hard to take them to an indie show or an ROH or a CZW or, even to a certain extent an Impact show, because they're not going to know any of the guys. And if they don't know any of them, there's no attention span whatsoever.
No, you're right.
So, those shows have to be geared to adults and to the hardcore wrestling fan. I will say that I do think the one way that Ring of Honor could somehow, and I don't even think it's possible based on the scheduling, but the one way that they could actually boost their attendance in a big, big way is if they could somehow bring in Jericho to do a quote-unquote confrontation with Kenny Omega.
Would be huge.
A debate or some kind of, it doesn't even have to be a match. It doesn't even have to be physical. Just some sort of follow-up on the New Japan angle where there is some sort of either confrontation or passing of the torch or something between Jericho and Omega. And even if Cody comes out and interrupts it, or, it happens and then it goes right into, the Cody and Omega thing. I mean, I honestly feel like that's the only way that they're going to save that show, is if Jericho is somehow involved.
Well, to me, the mistake was having it on Saturday instead of Friday. Because I will say this, Hall of Fame is rough to get through. And when you're trying to, if you have Hall of Fame tickets already, I can tell you from personal experience, and you're trying to get rid of them, they are very hard to sell, and you never get your money back for face value. If they would have ran that show on Friday night, I guarantee you that shit would have sold out. Boom,
no,
like that.
because you go ROH Friday, NXT Saturday.
I'll tell you what, I'd fly in on Friday. I would have gone to that show in a heartbeat.
Oh, no doubt.
But I'm not going to pass up NXT TakeOver. I'm going to go to NXT TakeOver.
Well, that's the other issue, too, is that, a lot of the indie shows, but also they are kind of at the mercy of the venue. They're also at mercy of a sponsorship. They're at the mercy of a lot of things where they're going to get either a crowd or a possibility of a crowd. There's a lot of factors that they got to run into there that's a little bit different than WWE.
Got to run in.
Yeah.
The little guy's home. Welcome home, son.
Where
Little Greg Malakovic run through.
Yeah, WWE kind of has that. They kind of, not a safety blanket, but they kind of have almost a guarantee that somebody's going to show up. Whereas when it comes to even their live events, there's a guarantee someone's going to show up. Whereas for an independent event, even if it's ROH, and they've made a lot of headway, and they have since their origins, but not enough to say that, okay, again, casual fan, not going to go to an indie show unless they absolutely know somebody that's there. And that's why you bring up Chris Jericho. It does give that mainstream appeal
it's a face
to an
know.
ROH show. That, because the thing about it is, last year they had the Hardys. Even if it was their last night, they were going to be there. And they were going to drop the belts, but they were going to be there. So that does give you that cross-promotional feel that you would like to get from a mainstream face.
I mean, he's running the Jericho cruise with Ring of Honor. I mean,
Right.
it's definitely something that he could do. I'm going to get back to Facebook here. Rob Povia, EC3, to build him up on his journey to WWE. However, it will be there where he eventually meets his ultimate deletion. Again, LOL. Greg Malakovic, who just did a run-through, said, Adam Cole, baby!
Adam Cole, baby!
Jim Velasco. Jim is one of our Lucha Underground enthusiasts for sure. The Velveteen Dream. He says King Ricochet And then he says, Lucha Underground versus Impact. Johnny Mundo versus Johnny Impact. Taya versus Taya Valkyrie. Cage.
I'll fade this out now so we don't get a copyright infringement violation.
Cage versus Brian Cage. Jeremiah Crane versus Sami Callihan.
That's hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, listen, it's a cool concept, but
hilarious. I call him out. He accepts my friend
David
request.
Rosca, guys, update has accepted Mike's friendship.
I love you, Rosca.
To add on to finish this storyline here, Todd Womack actually said on Facebook, he's like, I'm hurt, Mike. I don't get a friend request from you.
Womack, you know how to find me, brother.
Brian Attard says, Mike, that's a great point talking about you on Lucha and Impact. Will draw interest just because it's unusual and not the norm. ROH crowd could gravitate there. It's true. My concern, like I said,
it's
is
damn
that
true.
There's not any unique names that haven't competed in Lucha. Anyone who's worth watching has already competed there. But again, if you're a person who watched the first 1 or 2 seasons, especially when Johnny Mundo and what's his name? Alberto what? What's his nickname?
El Patron.
I couldn't even think of it now. When Patron is there. And that's a cool thing for you to see.
I'll be honest,
back again.
Like John Morrison, Johnny Mundo, Johnny Impact, whatever you want to call him, like I mark for that guy big time.
Yeah, I like it. He's exciting to watch.
I would actually love for him to come back to WWE at some point and feud with The Miz over the Intercontinental title and play up all the backstory that they had from years ago.
They could.
Because I actually think now where both of them are in their careers, I mean, that's a semi-main event on a major pay-per-view.
Well, if you go back, I forget what year it was, but I believe it was the New Year's Eve Raw where they main evented Raw and had a match.
Correct.
That match was freaking awesome.
Oh, it was awesome.
That was a great match. And you can even play up on that break at that time and then come back. Now, it's a very interesting point. I think he will eventually come back. I do. From my understanding, is he left on good terms.
Right.
I can't say the same about Melina.
No.
But he left on good terms.
Well, look, if Joey Mercury could come back.
Yeah. You're right. But he, he left the door open, and he's talked about that to come back. So
to be fair, I don't think I don't think Melina had a good rapport with anybody when she left that company.
You're probably
she
right.
did with Batista.
Well, yeah, that's true.
You're right.
Just saying. I'm just saying.
Hotel rooms are a hell of a thing.
Christopher Lyon says, "What up, gents? What up, Chris?
What's up, Chris? Happy belated birthday, my man.
Happy belated birthday. That's right." Rob Provia says, "Yes, the honorable ring. I know it well." Jen Driver says, "No idea what you guys are talking about. Last time I was in the WWF, she's my buddy in California. Yes, WWF. NWO had started. Haha. But you're having fun with what you love, and that's freaking cool. Hi, Mike.
That's why we do
Hi,
this.
Jen. Thank you for jumping in and joining us. You know I love you, Jen.
That's why we do
my
it.
girl.
I
got one more, and then we're going to get on YouTube. So Velasco chimes back in. Callahan and Edwards totally kayfabe from a real mishap. No way Eddie would allow Sammy to sell shirts of his face. And he says casual younger fans don't care about 205 Live, let alone Ring of Honor or Impact. And Tom says, #family talk. To that Callahan-Edwards point, he got a lot of heat for the botch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't put that on him. To me, that's a very irresponsible. First of all, we're talking about Impact, and you could see the quality of Impact, how flimsy and shitty those chairs were. He hit the mark, well, pretty much. He hit the back of the chair, but it's a flimsy, shitty chair. So it bounced off the thing, and then hit him in the eye. I can't get mad at the guy.
No, and for people that say Sami Callihan works unsafe, that's just a blatantly wrong statement.
Right.
You're absolutely right. That was a very unpredictable, and I will say harmless, even though the result was not harmless. It's a harmless botch.
Yeah.
There was no malintent going on there. And for me, Eddie could have done a little better.
He was still
keeping
the
chair in place, but that's another story for another time.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, the spot alone was just not a good idea. It wasn't. It was an irresponsible spot.
The problem with those kind of matches is that anything can go wrong.
Right.
And it's not always the wrestler's fault. You know, it's just like that's why when you go into this match, you have to know very well is like any number of things could happen. In this case, inertia, bouncing a freaking chair off the post and hitting me in the eye. Well, that ain't Sammy's fault. It's the damn chair's fault, and it's science's fault.
And it's
for
the
bringing
environment.
It down, you know?
And again, for all the, like, we talk about the Twitter exchanges, right? We know wrestling.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that Anthem or somebody said to this guy, play the angle up.
Yep.
Like you said, now he's selling shirts. Sami Callihan is not a dickhead. He's a good dude. And I can tell you this. I met him at CZW. Very, very nice guy. That being said, no doubt in my mind that he was playing that up.
Oh.
And if you actually watched Eddie talk on TMZ Sports, he was very, very matter of fact about the fact that when that ended and they got back in the Gorilla, Sami Callihan was like distraught over the situation. He was very concerned about Eddie's condition.
But see, and it's funny though because I'm not disagreeing with you at all, but now here we are, a couple days further out, and now the story kind of starts to shift. I know Sammy was there when they pulled me through the curtain, but they rushed me to an ambulance so fast we didn't really get to talk, and I haven't talked to him since. Well, maybe you haven't talked to Sammy, but I'm sure Anthem has, and I'm sure you're talking to Anthem.
Right.
So it's, there's that sort of, that little bit of suspension of disbelief now has to come in where they have to take something that happened. And you're right. I'm sure as soon as they brought him through the curtain, Sammy was standing right there basically, apologizing up a storm.
Eddie said that. He was distraught over the situation.
Well, that's another thing, too. It's just like when we live in a world now where people have all this social media and everybody has access to everything, and there's spoilers galore everywhere you look, that is the only real way to preserve kayfabe in a lot of ways, is to come off like you hate this person because they did something to you in the ring. Like, you have been handed a perfect opportunity to say, yeah, he really hit me in the ring, and he's a son of a bitch for doing it. You could play that off so easy because no one's going to second-guess you because you're a wrestler and you were there in that moment.
And you're so right about that, Matty, because in an era now where kayfabe, for all intents and purposes, a lot of people say it's dead. You're absolutely right. And you have to preserve it even when real people, like a Chris Hero, are coming at you on there. You have to continue to preserve that.
Right.
Now, was it in good taste? I don't know. You don't know what Anthem told him to put out there. He could have somebody telling him, tweet this back. You don't know.
But that's the thing, though. I mean, like, half the things that people did back in the day weren't not tasteful in any way, shape, or form. That's how they got a reaction out of the audience.
But it's such a sensitive generation
now. It is, and that's the sad part of it. But that's the thing, though. That's why everything in WWE is practically unbelievable, because you always see on their, the Twitter accounts and the Instagrams and everything like that, where you're like, oh, I'm hanging out with my buddy even though we were done beating each other over the head with chairs on Raw.
You're in the middle of a Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, and they're hanging out in fucking Spain or whatever.
Right, but here's the thing: is that WWE makes no bones about it.
Right. Oh yeah,
they tell you it's sports entertainment.
Correct.
Yeah. But you go and you look at a New Japan where kayfabe, like, you don't break kayfabe at all in New Japan,
or you're done.
To Ring of Honor where the line is really, really blurry. To Impact where Impact wants you to think that they're a real sport even though you know that they're not. I mean, it's one of those things where, did they fall into a pile of shit and come out smelling like a rose bush? There's a good possibility. But it's going to be, and here's the other thing, too, is because they only tape like every 7 or 8 weeks, the only thing they have to keep this angle hot until their next set of TV tapings is social media.
Absolutely.
Well, you can easily, and you could easily do that, too, because if you have each other's personal numbers, you could easily just say, like, hey, man, I'm going to say this about you on social media. Go ahead and play that off.
That's what Jericho and Omega did leading into their angle in Japan. I mean, they were on the phone with each other every day talking about what was going to go out on social media.
Yeah.
Which is pure genius, by the way.
Yeah, you can manipulate it to now you can actually kind of pull a little over everybody's eyes. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing that, even in an era where kayfabe is dead, you can still find a way to make it kind of burst through the cracks and say, no, it can still be used.
It'll pull an Undertaker and sit up for 20 minutes every now and then.
Yeah.
Jim Velasco this is about the bat spot. He said, issues with the baseball bat spot. The chair should have been placed higher on Eddie's body so the bat would have ricocheted into the mat instead of his face. Fair point. Also with that, though, Eddie's the one that was positioning the chair around, and he was still shifting the chair at the spot. Now, maybe that's on Sammy. He should have waited until it was set. That being said, and he said the bat also should have been a fake bat since no one would have been able to tell the difference.
Right, you could have gimmicked the bat. Sting's bats were always gimmicked.
Yeah. And then
What I
Brian
wanna know is
Daly says, I love the Alexa Bliss
There you
pick.
go.
Hashtag goddess. Yes.
Here's the thing, though. Everybody who's got any sort of, call it inside knowledge of professional wrestling, knows that when you hit a guy with a chair, even if it's the stiffest chair shot you can lay in there, you're always hitting with the seat of the chair.
Right.
Because it's got more give than the top or the back side.
Yeah.
So if you're Sammy, why are you hitting the top of the chair?
Well, that's where I think he missed the target. I think he meant to hit
Either that.
the seat of the chair.
Because like you said earlier,
He
he
nicked
hits
the
the top, he hits the seat, and then it winds up hitting Eddie in the face.
But that's why. So I think he missed the spot of impact because, no pun intended.
No pun intended.
I think but the way it looked, he still hit the seat of the chair pretty solid. But I think when he hit the back,
it
nicked off,
Okay.
hit the seat of the chair, but the chair was such a piece of crap, thin, flimsy chair, which, again, if that's the kind of chair you're going to use, it's a bad spot. You use like a steel chair,
Right.
it's going to have more give.
I feel like if he hits
stop the momentum.
I feel like if he hits the seat of the chair clean, maybe the bat doesn't ricochet off like that,
Yeah.
but because he hits the top of the chair first,
Right.
which to me, it looked, and maybe this is just good on Sammy's part, because it looked like he was trying to hit the high end of the chair to drive that chair down into Eddie, when maybe that was the accident, and it just kind of all went to shit.
No,
from
you're
there.
right. I mean, if you're talking about a folding chair, it's folded like this.
Right.
He might be intending to hit the inside solid part of the chair and just missed it by an inch or two.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's all it takes to nick that and throw the placing of the bat
Yeah,
off.
take the whole thing.
Especially when you're hitting with that kind of momentum.
Right.
So
Yeah, let's hit you two.
we got Todd Womack, of course, chiming in saying Philly Dilly guys.
Philly Dilly,
Philly
brother.
Dilly?
And he also goes on to say, please tell me why Vince is trying to make me not watch WrestleMania.
Well, you tell me. What don't you like about
Yeah.
it?
Todd? I guess he's just in general not loving the booking all around.
I think it's intriguing. To me, so here, what I would just say to that, let's see what happens after Fastlane, because here's what I don't like, and this is why I like that they're going back to cross-branded pay-per-views only now. What I don't like, I don't think that the way having a 6-week break in between is fine if it's both shows. Gives a lot of time for build-up.
Right.
But when you have one show 6 weeks away and one show 4 weeks away, there's that kind of a lull in between, especially now when you're talking about, do we really know what Asuka's program is
Right.
going to be? Now that John Cena is fluttering in between, it almost feels like the last 2 weeks, although they have set up a couple of angles, like no pun intended, Kurt Angle
Right.
and Rousey and all.
Which, by the
there's
way,
a lot of-
Ryan Brodo, great call
Yes,
on that.
absolutely, yeah. Ryan Brodo called that before it was even rumored.
he had that booked long before it was on TV.
He did. He called that before I had heard that rumor or read it anywhere.
Also, I saw somebody bashing Rhonda on social media about her mic skills. I'm like, dude,
we'll get into that.
calm
yeah.
down. Like, calm down.
Yeah, we'll get into that when we do Raw and SmackDown. But yeah, that's
And that should be the last thing anybody's worried about at this point in her career.
right.
Yeah.
But the 2-week lull to me, I feel like there's a lot of filler that isn't meaningful to WrestleMania. Where now I feel like when SmackDown's over, they're going to be rushing everything to get the program set up.
I agree with that.
So I feel like they're not doing any favors either way. What do we got here, Frank?
Well, we just got some breaking NFL news, not involving our
That's all right.
boys in
Throw
the
it in.
green. The Los Angeles Rams are expected to trade a 2018 fifth-round pick to the Denver Broncos for Aqib Talib.
There it is. Wow, that's a huge move for them.
That's interesting because they just got Marcus Peters. Now they're going to go after Aqib Talib. That was also the team that I predicted would wind up landing Richard Sherman.
Wow.
Plus,
Maybe not now, unless they work some magic.
I mean, they just traded Alex Ogletree to the Giants, so
Yeah.
Interesting. Thanks, Frank. Okay.
You're welcome.
Can you
I
get
do
us?
appreciate that. Thank
Can
you,
you get
sir.
us Flyers, Sixers, Nova, and Temple scores?
I actually do got these scores right here.
Go
Give
for
us the
it.
rundown.
Right
then
now,
we'll get back to you too.
over in Temple in the American Athletic Conference tournament, the second half is starting right now. Temple is up 39-35 against Tulane. Over in Villanova in the Big East tourney, Villanova is leading 41-34 over Marquette. The Sixers are trailing 26-22 to Miami with 2 minutes left in the first quarter. And for the Flyers, I last checked, it is the end of the first period. The Bruins are up 2-1.
Here we go.
Real quick on the Sixers. They're playing Miami more in the last 2 weeks.
It's crazy, I know.
Than the Phillies play the Blue Jays
I know.
in spring training.
I know.
Like, it's ridiculous. It's like it feels like every other game is against Miami over the last couple weeks.
Jay Erickson said the Rams are trying to beef up the defense. That'll be a good game when we play them this year. Agreed. I'm going to steer it back to wrestling.
Let's go back.
So
We'll
back
get
to
more
this.
scores, guys. Thank you, Frank, for that. That was a great drop-in.
Ram Jam.
Well, this
It's
is
a wrestling
This
move.
is what I like when
From
Facebook
Mickey
and
O'Rourke.
YouTube intermingle, because Velasco responds to that. Jim Velasco says to that comment, the build-up to WrestleMania, and I totally 1,000% agree to this, the build-up to WrestleMania does not dictate how well WrestleMania will actually do.
True.
The build-up for WrestleMania 31, which we were at, well, I was at, he wasn't there, for 31 in San Francisco was terrible, but it ended up being an amazing show. And I will tell you, I was not super pumped going to that Mania. That show, by the end of that, I came out of there, I was there, so to me it was like, oh my God, it's the greatest Mania. In hindsight, it's still a top 5 Mania of all time.
Look at it this way. Back in the day when they had nobody because they lost everybody, WrestleMania 10 pulled out an unbelievable year. So, you know what? If that can happen, anything can happen. So, I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Well, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Let's back up the train for 1 minute.
Sure.
I want to ask you a question, though, about that, about San Francisco, Santa Clara, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If Seth Rollins doesn't cash in and walk out of there the champion that night, how much would that have detracted from the overall level of excellence of that show?
So being there, I still felt like the show was really strong.
Okay.
It was I don't know if I would have put it top 5. Top 10 still. The main event would have been a letdown as far as going, although, I mean, that's when Suplex City was also created.
Yeah.
But I look at that card, and you had Daniel Bryan winning the Intercontinental title.
Mm-hmm.
You had that amazing spot between Seth and Randy Orton where he went for the curb stomp and Orton did the RKO.
Right.
You had Ronda Rousey and The Rock. You had Sting and Triple H, Sting's one and only WrestleMania appearance. And then, whether you love the booking or not, I don't look at this as lazy booking. Sometimes you suspend reality just for a cool moment of seeing the NWO and DX face-to-face in a little bit of an exchange. You had cool moments like that where you go back and I still think it would have been a really great experience. Would have taken it away from it a little bit, though.
Okay.
All right, then. So, Todd going on to say, Cena versus AJ versus Nakamura. Hell no, just needs to be AJ versus Nakamura.
Well, let me throw a question out there then, Todd. How would you feel about Kevin Owens versus AJ versus Nakamura? Because I don't think it's going to be Cena. I think it's going to be Kevin Owens. And the reason that I think that is I think you can have Owens win the title Sunday, drop the title to Nakamura at WrestleMania, and have AJ Styles then be able to say to Nakamura, you never beat me for that title, and it immediately starts their build towards SummerSlam. So don't get me wrong. Kevin Owens in this particular situation is nothing more than a transitional champion, but I think he's the perfect guy to play that role for 3 weeks.
If anything, it's the launching pad to prolonging an AJ Styles Nakamura rivalry for later on in the year.
Right, and then what you can also do is for the 3 weeks leading up to WrestleMania, you have Sami Zayn chasing Kevin Owens for a title shot because, maybe he did or maybe he didn't lay down for him on Sunday. But you can have a short-term angle between Owens and Sami leading into the bigger three-way and protect both Styles and Nakamura by having Owens be the one that drops the belt at WrestleMania. Now, do I believe that that's going to happen? Not necessarily, but I don't necessarily think it's far-fetched either.
It's not far-fetched because it does allow WWE to kind of milk the cash cow of AJ versus Nakamura and not just kind of blow the load at WrestleMania and that's it. You know, you can actually get more mileage out of it. Not a bad idea. I think that definitely could help them, especially for SmackDown, because they need all the help they can get right now.
And I'll tell you why I also kind of am going in that direction. And, Chrome, you could jump in on this whenever you want.
I'll make my point after you make yours. Yeah, I have a thought. Go ahead.
I feel like the situation with Brock Lesnar, quote-unquote, no-showing Raw, and having all of these pictures floating around with Dana White now and whatnot, where it's becoming more and more apparent that he is going to go back to UFC. Kind of
Still got to serve his suspension.
Right. But it kind of leads me to believe that if they do go with a straight Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar main event, that it's going to get shit on because nobody likes Roman and everybody's going to turn on Brock because he's leaving, just the same way they turned on Brock and Goldberg however many years ago. So you got to finish the show with something better than that.
True.
In fact, it wouldn't even
John
surprise
Cena and Undertaker.
And that's a great possibility. But it wouldn't surprise me one iota if Roman and Brock was like literally 3 minutes of Roman kicking the shit out of him, get the pinfall, and then get out of there. And stop the booing and turn the whole card around. But that said, for some reason, and I can't put my finger on it, I don't think Vince wants AJ and Nakamura one-on-one yet.
Well, funny enough, though, that we brought up the subject of the Raw main event for WrestleMania because Rob Povia's comment actually alludes to the news that you wanted to talk about on the show, and that was any validity to the steroid purchase accusations for Roman and could be out of WrestleMania if evidence surfaces.
Yeah.
And I heard WWE's plan B is have Braun win title off of Lesnar. Why not do that match to begin with?
Yeah, so we mentioned it last week. I wanted to touch on it more. I'm going to respond to your
Go ahead.
last point first, and then I'm going to go right into that. I see where you're going. The thing I look at, WrestleMania is the show. When WrestleMania is done, the season restarts.
Right.
So I don't look at it. Whenever I see them book WrestleMania, they don't book it for future anticipation. 9 times out of 10, the big payoff is supposed to be at Mania. And I just see, and I know Vince has that much of an ego and that much of a hard-on to put on the best show possible in his eyes or what have you.
Right.
I don't see him waiting, especially with all the New Japan attention that's gotten out there, waiting on AJ and Nakamura. I think from the get-go, and that's why I called 2 years ago for this match to be for the title within 2 years. And I'm at the point, 2 years.
Okay, but here's my question. Where's the program? Nakamura won the Royal Rumble, and the only program that has been between him and Styles is him just walking by AJ every now and then saying, I'm going to beat you at WrestleMania.
And
There's no program. It's the laziest booking of this program ever.
But that's SmackDown. SmackDown has too many guys in the main event picture and too many storylines that they don't tie up. We're going through these Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn shits that's been teased forever.
Forever, right.
It's the Bailey Sasha fucking version on SmackDown.
Of SmackDown, right. No, you're dead on with that.
They have so many of these guys who are in, like, they still haven't even wrapped up the AJ or the Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon feud, which is tied into Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, which should have been done 2 months ago.
Right.
And it's continuing to go on. So what happens is, now you have this pay-per-view that, because of shitty planning, is 4 weeks out from WrestleMania, and you have to figure out a way to start branching these guys separate from each other. So what do? You throw them all in one match. You let them have their sub-stories in the middle of this match to where when you come out, now we've cleared the main event picture. Now you have and I'm saying AJ, you have AJ and Nakamura in the clear. Now you take these other guys out, and now you have Sammy and Kevin Owens can now separate and do their thing.
And then Dolph and
whatever happens with Dolph and Corbin, they'll figure
right.
something out. They might be in the Battle Royal. Who knows? But now you clear what has been an absolutely cluttered main event picture, and you can focus on them.
And I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you at all. The one piece of that I would look at differently is you're absolutely spot on when you talk about how WrestleMania is, the culmination of one season, the Raw after Mania or the SmackDown after Mania is the beginning of the new season or whatever. To me, wouldn't you want to start that next season fresh with an AJ versus Nakamura program instead of having this, and granted, it would be a phenomenal match at WrestleMania, but there's 4 weeks of build to it.
Well, I think the other...
And that's the shitty booking of it.
Yeah.
Well, the other issue that they run into is it's face versus face. It's not a clear-cut heel. And that's,
I don't think
you could do that, though.
You
could
pull that off.
You could pull
Jesus
it off.
Christ.
But it does...
We're like, we're both at the same time. We're like, you can pull that.
It's true, though. But at the same time, though, it would make it a little bit easier, at least promo-wise and such like that, to have somebody have been the heel so that way they can cut the promos and constantly be the one who's hankering home.
I mean,
like,
for all intents and purposes, you have Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are both heels, and they're fucking feuding with each other.
They're on the outside looking in, and that's the sad part of it.
Like, I look at it more of you can get more juice out of that. You could have these guys not as often as Sasha and can't even remember now.
Bailey?
Charlotte. No.
Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
Trading the title that much, but you could. I mean, it's only how many months? It's 4 months between then and SummerSlam, right? You could conceivably, because I've seen them do.
4 months.
I've seen them do Baron Corbin.
I had to count on my fingers, but it's
I've
4
seen
months.
them do Baron Corbin and Kalisto for 4 fucking months.
That's
I've seen them
true.
do Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler for 4 fucking months. They could have a series of matches between these two guys and have it start at WrestleMania and culminate at SummerSlam. Unless Cena jumps in the picture at that point.
Well, and where I was going with that was my whole theory on why it's not Cena is if it turns out that the whole Roman Reigns steroid thing either gets pushed to the back burner until after Mania or is not true, and they do go with Roman and Brock as the main event, well, that leaves Braun Strowman without a match. Well, if you really want to anoint Braun Strowman as the next guy, then the guy to lay down for him is John Cena.
Right.
So...
And I do want to say this, too, about this, because a lot of is being said about the brand split. I know Brian said in there, he sees this being the end of the total brand split, not just pay-per-views. I think, and I truly believe when I look at this more, that seeing how cluttered and crazy that things have gotten this year with how they've booked it and seeing how not well planned everything's been, I believe seeing this main event picture at 4 weeks out from Mania is nowhere near as clear as it should be to give it the proper build. To me, tells me that this is probably one of the reasons why they said after Mania we're done with it. After Mania we're done and we're going back to having both brands on one pay-per-view because, again, you have one show that has 6 weeks to build. There's going to be throw-in and toss-away time at a time in the year where there shouldn't be. You shouldn't be throwing any moments away.
Right. See, and it's
on the
it's
other side, you got to rush it now.
I hear exactly what you're saying, and I completely agree with you in that I do think that every pay-per-view needs to be co-branded, but you can't have Raw and SmackDown be, every superstar eligible to appear on every show because then you're literally going to get...
Well, you're going to get 4-hour pay-per-views probably now.
Probably, but I mean, if you go co-branded everything... I mean, number one, there wouldn't be co-branding anymore. It would just be WWE. But, I mean, you're going to get the same 12 to 15 guys every Monday and Tuesday night, and it's going to take an already overloaded roster.
Right.
And there's going to be guys that you just never even see.
Yeah, I think the shows will continue to be independently branded. Pay-per-views will be different. What I hope that they do is, and I always talk about this, like how great was wrestling back when they had time to build programs.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't every month, and I talk about it every week. Eric Bischoff, as much as a lot of good things he did, he watered down wrestling and forced Vince to have to go to 12 every other pay-per-view. And I'm not saying consistently these guys, but you can alternate programs to where they don't have to appear on whatever pay-per-view. In your house, go fuck yourself, right? Is that what we were talking about off the air?
Well,
The greatest
you missed that joke.
pay-per-view.
The greatest pay-per-view ever.
Yes.
We booked a pay-per-view while we were sitting here before the show. We called it In Your House, Go Fuck Yourself, and it was an all jobber pay-per-view.
Worst gimmicks.
Did somebody actually win a house or just the toilet?
Maybe.
Tito Santana was anointed the official world
Yeah.
champion.
It was Tito Santana versus the Brooklyn Brawler for the
Yeah.
world title.
We had a match. Who was it? We had Donald versus Rosie 2, the ECW Zombie versus Jillian's Mole. I mean,
Look,
the worst of wrestling.
I'll
all
tell
into
you what.
one.
I would absolutely buy that pay-per-view if you could promise me one match.
What's that?
What's the match?
I want SD Special Delivery Jones versus Renee Goulet
Done.
with a 20-minute time limit.
It's an
Yes!
opener. It's an opener. We'll have David Penzer even do the ring announcements too.
Well, I can't get Gary Michael Capetta on there.
Yeah, you can have Gary Mike Capetta. You're booking it, man.
Oh, there we
Absolutely.
go.
We're all booking
But
it.
to your point, though, and it's funny that you mentioned In Your House, because the one thing I was going to say was, even if they rewound the clock to when they were doing the In Your House pay-per-views as the filler, I want to say it was somewhere around 96, 97. Shawn Michaels was the World Heavyweight Champion, and basically he had a title defense every month.
Yeah.
And he would defend the title, and the next night on Raw, the next challenger would step up. And there would be a 4 or 5 week program, and then they would have their match. Michaels would retain. And if they put on a really, really good match, what they may do is the next Monday on Raw or Thursday on SmackDown at the time, the champion or the challenger would come out and ask for a rematch. Or, Michaels would come out and say, I beat you, but I'm not done with you.
Right.
And they would carry it through to the next pay-per-view.
Right.
But, I mean, there was a stretch where there was probably a good 12 to 14 months where HBK went through, 4 or 5 different challengers, which one of the best in-your-house matches of all time, Michaels versus Mankind in Philadelphia, was in that stretch, as well as I think it was a 3-match series with Shawn and Davey Boy Smith in that series, where, there are ways to book short-term if you're smart about it. The problem is they're just not smart about it these days.
Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire
was phenomenal.
was a 3 or 4 week build-up, and it was one of the best build-ups they've had in fucking a decade.
Well, even
it was an amazing main event program.
Yeah. And another trick that you can pull too is you can always have it with a heel champion. It can always be like a way of getting out of it, where you can do something of a main event, and even though it's a pay-per-view, it's a throwaway pay-per-view. We know it's a throwaway pay-per-view. You could do a tag match, or you could do something like that where it does build up. For a perfect example, even though he was babyface, I mean, Austin was WWF champion, and everybody knew he was going to face Undertaker at SummerSlam. Well, what did they do? Mankind and Kane were tag team champions at that time. So at one of the pay-per-views in the middle, they had Austin and Undertaker team up, even though they didn't like each other, face Mankind and Kane in the main event. They won the tag belts. They held them for a week. It just built up the ferocity towards SummerSlam.
Right.
It's just an easy way to say, okay, that's the month, and now we're going to go to SummerSlam.
Yeah, and even so, Brian says on here, 1,000% agree on the Bischoff point. The split-branded pay-per-views are today's in your houses, and the 4 are the events. Clearly, 2 tiers are of pay-per-view currently. And I agree. Let's not forget. Absolutely, Brian. Things like Great Balls of Fire, whatever. What was it? 10 years ago, it was the same thing. They just had In Your House in front of them. All they did was drop the name. They dropped the name like they dropped Langston from Big E.
Oh, we got another run-in.
We got a run-in.
A run-in.
We got Thomas Kennedy McMahon walking through.
It's like I was waiting for No Chance in Hell to start playing while he was walking in the door.
That's what you got.
Oh, I love how the crowd sings that now when he comes out. That's hilarious.
But I will to wrap it up and then back to there. I just want to it's true when you look at a lot of the manias. It is damn true. When you look at a lot of the manias, other than huge things like Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, Austin and Rock, you don't really remember the build-ups as much, which is why I don't get too invested in that. It's when you go back and you watch the Mania, those incredible matches. And Jim made the point earlier, 31. I don't know that I can remember a worse build-up, maybe WrestleMania 27. In 27, the build-up was awful, the pay-per-view. That might be the worst of all time.
That's one of the worst.
That one aside, I don't know that I can remember a worse build-up to a WrestleMania that absolutely delivered on game day.
It's weird, though, because even last year, even though they had the brand split, it just seemed like they booked it so much better.
Right.
You know, it's very strange. I don't know how that happened.
I agree, and I think I'm reserving my opinions on the build until I want to see what happens on Raw,
week.
and I want to see how SmackDown's. I want to see if Asuka's going to SmackDown.
Okay. Maddie, hit that last comment on the YouTube chat real quick, because that kind of goes back to what Chrome was talking about a minute ago.
Todd Womack saying, do you guys think Daniel Bryan still can get cleared to wrestle? Because that's the only way to get the Shane and Daniel storyline to WrestleMania.
He's cleared by everyone except WWE's doctors.
I agree that they've cornered themselves. I don't know if it was intentionally or not. I want to say I'm holding out hope, but I have to be honest. I'm still on the fence with it. I don't know how confident I am in it. I would love to see it. I agree that should be a program. And again, that might be something that we see clear on Tuesday. I'm hoping so.
Well,
but I don't know. I mean, honestly, and the cross branding now, they could do Miz and Bryan,
right? Well,
and finally have that payoff.
They could. The only
SummerSlam.
I was going to say the only other thing that I was going to toss in there is, I guess Daniel Bryan's contract expires in September.
Right.
So if they wanted to go, Shane and Daniel at WrestleMania, and then Daniel and Miz at SummerSlam, and then, they make a decision on where they go with the contract situation from there. I mean, they do. If they are going to use Daniel Bryan in the ring in any way, they have to plan on it only being for 6 months at this point. Because
if they put him in the ring, I think he would resign.
I agree with what you're saying. If they put him in the ring on his terms, which allows him to work more than once every 4 months.
What is crazy, though, I mean, and you're talking about the way he works, though. Like, they put Bret Hart, who had a stroke, in the ring on multiple occasions. And this guy can't even get a sniff of in the ring. Like, he can't even take a fake punch. The one spot they did with Kane, they turned the lights out.
Well, but you know who you could blame for that? Christopher Nowinski.
Yeah, I know.
And you know what? God bless that guy for all of the work that he's done for concussions and CTE and the whole thing, because that guy took a really bad situation and turned it into something great, but he's also made the WWE completely paranoid about head injuries.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, I've done EMS training and learned a lot about health and all that stuff. It's no joke. That CTE shit is no joke, and it sucks because you can't diagnose it until after someone's already passed on. So you have no choice but to be paranoid. And that's the thing. That's my main concern is when they started tossing out CTE, and even Daniel Bryan himself started mentioning CTE in reference to him, whether he's cleared or not, you're talking about something that people know can't truly be diagnosed until they have to. To me, it's bad business for even an independent show.
With a guy who just got married and had a kid.
So
sometimes life happens.
I'm going to say I hope. Ask me that next week. Let me see how SmackDown shakes out.
And we'll see something on that one.
I will be glad to chime in on you guys next week, and we'll go from there.
Yeah,
nice.
Absolutely.
So we have.
Let's get another one or two in, and then we're going to cut the break.
All right. So David Rosca just talking about Goldust. Goldust was being stupid on Raw. That was just a time filler. The other thing he said, Roman Reigns and John Cena does not do steroids. Well, let's pull that back for a quick second. John did at one point, and then they got him off of it. As for Roman, I'm not going to say it's not true or it is true. I'm just going to say it's a possibility. It is very much a
Well,
possibility.
He's already been banged for it once. He'd be stupid to get banged for it a second time.
True.
That said, who knows?
How many guys have we said that
I
about
know.
in professional sports?
That's why I
though?
said who knows.
Hey, guys,
Yeah.
Lane Johnson.
Yeah.
That's like, come on, Lane Johnson.
Hey, you keep that name out of your mouth.
I love him to death.
the
but
Eagles are
Lane
still
John-
Super Bowl champions.
They are. They are. Yeah, why don't we take a 5-minute break? We're going to take a quick 5-minute break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk Fastlane. We'll get more into the Roman steroid thing because I don't think we fully addressed that. We'll continue to. I want to get back into because we really didn't talk much about that ladder match that's coming up for the North American title
A
in
little,
NXT.
little Velveteen dreaming.
Little Velveteen Dreaming, EC3 baby. That much more, guys. Keep joining us on YouTube, on Facebook. Matty, give us a read.
All right, then. So this was all brought to you by the Scanzano Sports Center, located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-889-3434 or visit them on the web at www.scanzanosports.com.
There it is. Guys, 5 minutes. We'll talk to you in a few.
Hi, folks. Bob Materacky here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes. Hi, folks. Bob Materacky here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
Everybody, I'm Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, and everybody's got a price for lazy booking. Hey, this is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, and you're listening to Lazy Booking. No, it's true. It's damn true. Ho! Hey, folks, I'm WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and if you want to know what's going on in wrestling, check out Lazy Bookings. Ho!
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Lazy Booking here on A2DRadio.com. Brought to you by the Sports Outlet for all your sporting needs. They're located at 703 Black Horse Pike in Glendora, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-939-2030. Email them at sportsoutletnj@comcast.net or visit them on the web at www.sportsoutletinc.com.
Love the paper slam, Matty, as usual. Welcome back to Lazy Booking
That's
from
like
the
his,
BMW
it's
Atlantic
his,
City studio.
his body slam,
It is.
It just
absolutely.
tension release, whatever.
Well, you know what? Unlike Sami Callihan, though, he hits the mark every time. Every time. I just got to say this. I just got this.
I don't know.
text-
He knocked my phone off the table one
Shit,
time.
that's right. Wow, that's
Actually,
true.
that
That's a botch.
No,
No
Botchamania.
No, that was the mark.
No
so there you
phones
go.
were broken.
In
No
the
phones were
filming of this
injured
angle.
in the filming of that angle. I got to call this out real quick.
Go ahead.
I just got a text message. My buddy Nate Longstreet, one of the former co-hosts of the original inception of Lazy Booking, just texted me and said he bought it.
Wait, can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
Is that his real name?
it is his real name.
Because that's a
Fucking
great
great,
wrestling name.
Right, like I had the shittiest name of all of them, but I had a cool nickname. It was Billy Thrasher, Nate Longstreet, and Chrome. That's fucking good. Like, there's a hook there. That's a hook. But he just texted me and told me that he bought a Kurt Hawkins autograph. Who the fuck pays for a Kurt Hawkins autograph? Like, what do you pay for that? I didn't even know how you gauge the market for a Kurt Hawkins autograph.
I want to know where he bought it and how much he paid for it.
I said I want to.
Because if it's $2.99 on eBay, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, well, but then the shipping costs more than the actual product.
it's what the product is worth.
That's insane. Go ahead, Matty. We're gonna go back in the comments, and we're gonna hit Fastlane. Thank you guys who stuck with us here. Matty, let's get them comments on you.
All
YouTube
right.
there.
So Todd Womack chiming back in. Johnny Impact and Dolph Ziggler would make a dominant tag team. Any thoughts on that?
Say that again.
Johnny Impact and Dolph Ziggler would make a dominant tag team.
It'd be a high-flying team. I mean, they were definitely listen. They both are very obviously very good at selling. Dolph a little too much with the selling for me, but for my taste. But
Here's where and it's funny because I love that, but not in
$20 shipped. Jesus Christ! I could think of 1,000 things to do with $20 better than that.
Like maybe
I might wipe my butt with it before I'd pay for any Kurt Hawkins merchandise, but that's just me. So the Dolph Ziggler thing.
That's what buying a Kurt Hawkins thing does. It throws the whole game off.
I would like to see Dolph go back to bleach blonde. The long hair is fine, but I'd like to see him go back to bleach blonde, take on more of the original Dolph Ziggler persona.
Hi, I'm Dolph Ziggler.
Not that Dolph Ziggler persona. It's too bad I'm this good Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
And kind of really play up sort of a, with Morrison and Ziggler that they really are better than everybody else, and they'll let you know about it, and they'll back it up in the ring.
Yeah.
And just come off as being really, really smug, arrogant, and they could even be baby faces, but still that sort of smug, arrogant, we're great, we know it, and we back it up in the ring, and then go from there.
You know what would be great, too, is if they actually, to even piggyback off of that, a Miz and Johnny Mundo kind of rivalry, you can have the Miz Taraz versus those two. It'd be cool. You can have even a tag title situation put in there. One beats the other, gets the belts. Next thing you know, Johnny wants Miz, Dolph finds somebody else he wants to go beat the crap out of.
I mean, it would be a cool tag team. I'm one of those guys that the Dolph Ziggler ship sailed for me a long time ago. If he actually went away for 6 months after that last angle where he put the title down on the ground,
right,
I would have probably been more invested in him. And I liked that. It was the first time I had seen something out of Dolph that I was like, okay, I like this.
But supposedly that wasn't his idea either. He put the title down, and he was out for a while.
Yeah.
And when he when he signed the new contract, they basically said, well, okay, you're signed, you're right back in action. And he was kind of like, wait a minute. We actually have like a fairly hot angle here that we could do something with.
Right.
And they were just like, nope, go back in the ring.
Yeah.
And now they throw him back out, and he comes out with the screeching sound, but then back to his original entrance music. And then he kind of tweens. Oh, also, he told me that picture is inscribed with 172. $20.
All right. I'm warming up to the process here.
I'm not.
They should have like Kurt Hawkins
no
face off with
TTP.
another jobber and lose to that jobber just for the shits and giggles of it. First time you see a jobber beat one of the guys on
No,
the
you know
roster.
what? Hold on, Matty. You're genius. You are genius. They need to bring back the old classic jobbers, not the old like legends. I'm talking old classic jobbers, like we were talking about earlier. Like you get your Special Delivery Jones if he's still alive, or Rene Goulet, Johnny Rods, Barry Horowitz, Jose Estrada, Salvatore Bellomo, like all these guys that were like big time jobbers in the 80s and 90s. And have him job out to the jobber.
Yeah, that would be great. I would be down for that. That would have been a great angle, similar to the Raw 1000 where they had Heath Slater lose to all the legends.
Right.
They could have built up to Raw, the 25th anniversary.
25th anniversary, yeah.
And did a similar thing and just brought jobbers back and had them continuously lose to all the jobbers. That would have been awesome.
That would have been hilarious.
I would have been down for that. That would have been great in the Manhattan Center.
Oh, yeah. But, Matty, that your stroke of genius right there. What's up, TTP Ballin'?
Yeah. So we got more comments going on over here on the YouTube, and that is Rob Povia. I guess he agrees with the Dolph Johnny Mundo tag team, or the Johnny Impact, whichever one you want to go. And he goes, yes, yes, yes,
yes.
Moving
Oh,
on.
wait, was that the Johnny Impact Dolph Ziggler, or was that when we were talking about Johnny Impact and Miz?
No, I think he was
Again.
talking. I think that was when we got into the Ziggler tag team.
Okay, forging on.
Moving on, this is more of what the response is on the Rams thing, where the Rams got Aqib Talib, and then Todd Womack responded, the Rams can have that old fart, Jeffrey burned him.
There we go.
There you go.
And then the guy who commented in on the Aqib Talib, which is DLove 120798, he just responded as lol.
LOL, LOL, LOLs.
And then David Rosca. Okay, so now we finally got it. WrestleMania 34 hashtag Mandy freaking Rose versus hashtag Trish Thrilla Stratus. Well, it was going to come at some point, somewhere down the line. We were going to get a Mandy Rose comment.
Keep
from
bringing
David
us that
Rosca.
Mandy Rose comments, Rosca. I'm all
Mandy
for it, buddy.
Rose, the distinction of being. Now I remember what it was. I was sitting there watching Elimination Chamber, and she was the first one eliminated, and I wanted to just crush
First
Rosca.
Rumble elimination.
First Rumble elimination.
First elimination chamber elimination. She's
But-
got a claim to fame.
But there's an angle brewing here.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because if they do a Women's Survivor Series match,
She
and
could
she's
be
the
the
first
first.
one eliminated from that, then the build-up down the road is, I was the first eliminated from this, I was the first eliminated from this, I was the first eliminated from this, I'm going to win. And who knows, somewhere down the line, maybe she does.
We'll see.
Apparently, they love her. So,
Well, so she's the anti-Eva Marie in a sense that she came in and she did all the modeling, didn't really have much of a background in this kind of thing.
and she works her ass
She
off.
took it very seriously. She
Yeah.
works her ass off. I think she looks pretty decent in the ring, too. I mean, obviously with the talent level that's there, she's got work to do, but, I've seen them have a lot worse up there in a lot bigger spots over
Yeah.
the years. I'm really impressed with her work. And, again, I always say it every week. If you follow her on Snapchat, even through this whole, build up to where she was training in NXT, if you watched her Snapchats, her and what's her name now? I can't even. Daria Baronato.
Right.
Oh,
Sonya Deville.
Yeah, Sonya Deville.
Jesus, I was calling. I just think of her real name. But every time they were truly best friends and worked together through that early training in NXT.
Well, it's funny because the last NXT show that I saw at the Tower Theater, which I guess was last April.
Mhm. I remember that show. I was supposed to go. I didn't go, but
So the opening match was Patrick Clark doing the gimmick, but not yet being advertised
Right.
or announced as Velveteen Dream against Cassius Ohno.
Okay.
And the second match was Mandy Rose against Daria Baronato.
Yep. And I think that was smart by WWE because the thing with Daria Baronato is she is a hard worker. She did
Yeah.
MMA. Like, she gets into something, she takes that shit seriously. Having them actually, work together and come up, I think was a positive influence for her, too, to be befriended with this person who you did Tough Enough with.
Right.
And if you watch Tough Enough, they weren't exactly best friends on that show either.
Right.
But to have them kind of work together and have a positive influence around someone like her and work with her, I think has paid off in spades.
Right, and I think the other thing with Sonya Deville, Daria Baronato is because she is, out as a confirmed lesbian, I really think that, and the fact that WWE embraces that,
Yes.
I think they eventually will do with her what they missed the boat on with Darren Young.
Oh, I totally agree with that. I think, too, when you look at that pairing, they were such complete opposites coming off of that show, right? So you have someone, a hard worker like Daria, who can push Mandy Rose, in the NXT developmental and go through that process, and vice versa. I think having someone with a personality like Mandy Rose, a large personality, and was even on there.
Is that what we
able to
call it
show.
these days? A large personality?
Wow. You can pick which one, and we'll name it personality.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, I didn't
No,
mean
I
to
hear
interrupt
you.
you, but go ahead.
No. But I think that they were able to feed off of each other and learn things from each other as well.
Oh, yeah.
And it showed. I mean, we don't really see Sonya speak too much as far as right now, but I'm really intrigued to see where they go with Mandy Rose.
Right.
And it's not coincidence that they're booking her the way they are.
No, and I actually loved the byplay between she and Goldust during the mixed match.
That was
classic.
awesome.
Yeah.
I talked about that on here.
Yeah,
that
you
was
did.
fucking great.
Yeah.
I liked. By the way, I haven't watched a lot of it, but I've
It's
enjoyed
it's
the
been
mixed
entertaining
match.
as hell.
It has
yeah.
been
Like-
entertaining. Yeah.
Like they have the in-ring tournament, but they've created these other like fun
Personalities,
subplot
yeah.
things, and to see and learn about, and it's been great.
Any hardcore WWE fan that is not absolutely completely entertained by just the mere thought of Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss, check your pulse.
Yes.
Just check your pulse.
That was the best part of going that night was that match alone after SmackDown. Just the whole.
That's
Oh,
that's
God.
hilarious.
There is a great meme, guys, that I am going to put.
That's great.
I'm going to put it on the Lazy Booking Facebook page.
Well, see, and it's funny that you brought that picture up, and you'll
I
share
saved
that.
this on my phone today. It was hilarious.
I actually had to have a serious exchange with someone on Twitter the other day because they said, how can Braun Strowman take multiple Superman punches from Roman Reigns and not go down, but then 105-pound Alexa Bliss gets knocked off the apron and takes him down? And I said, it's called suspension of disbelief.
Right.
It's called creating a visual moment. Did people not see the blatant sexual innuendo that came of that and not just completely crack up? Like, it's hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. And for people to not recognize that,
It's sad.
they're just taking themselves and the business way too seriously.
They are. You know what the funny part is? I'm actually kind of surprised that they kept it contained to the Mixed Match Challenge. I'm surprised they never once decided to just do a fun little promo on Raw where Alexa just happens to run into Braun in the back. Like, I don't know. That'd be kind of funny just to see them do it, just to spice the show up a little bit.
Listen, they still could. Jim Velasco says if you watch the Mixed Match Challenge, it's very obvious that they have them do a lot of dialogue in the ring compared to what they normally do.
Right.
Yep.
Again, it's character building. It's creating something that you don't – they're trying to create another angle or a different version of the product to watch, a different form of entertainment that they don't normally get to do
and
on
with
television.
the Facebook Watch, for as much as people hate Kevin Dunn and his, 37 camera cuts per minute on Raw or SmackDown,
That was brutal this
they
week.
do use. Oh my God!
Yes.
My buddy texted me and said, I'm getting nauseous watching all the
they
camera
do
cuts.
use some really cool and unique camera angles
Yeah.
for the Mixed Match Challenge, including, like we all saw, cameraman in the ring.
Yeah.
Like literally in the ring shooting action this close and then backing out of the ring when he knows they're going to go to a certain spot.
It's crazy, though, when you see it, too, live, and you just see the cameraman getting in, you're like, what the hell is
What's
he
he doing
doing
in the ring? Yeah.
But you can experiment on something
Oh,
like that
absolutely.
you can't do on Raw. And that's how you create, okay, this worked, this didn't work. Rob says, I agreed, Mandy and Goldie was cool. Hashtag Mixed Match Challenge has been Asuka.
Asuka and Miz. That's an interesting combination.
Let's get into Fastlane.
Okay.
We have a couple of talking points for Raw and SmackDown, too. And then we'll go from there. So
All
let's
right.
get into the
So-
Fastlane card and make our predictions.
So the first
And we also
off,
got to go to NXT too, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll get all this in.
So the first thing
We
off
run a
is
few minutes
the
later tonight, we can, because we don't have hockey happy hour.
Oh,
This is
beauty.
true. For that being said, we have the opening matchup of the evening for the pre-show: Natalya and Carmella against Becky Lynch and Naomi. Sort of a consolation prize for the women who are not going to be on the Fastlane.
I think that Becky and Naomi get the W
Yeah,
here.
I think that's good.
that's a slam dunk, really. Rusev versus Shinsuke Nakamura.
Obviously, it's going to be Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have him drop. they have to lose to Rusev right before. That's going to be a problem.
So then Rusev takes the titled match, and then he says, "I will make every day Rusev Day after I win the WWE
I think
title."
Rusev's going to win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
I think that's probably a real good choice. I mean, here's my thing, though. Like, has the whole concept of Rusev Day, like, organically turned him babyface?
Yes.
And if so, when is WWE just going to start booking him that way?
And they may.
Well, you know what they might do? Maybe not since they are pretty much doing a triple threat thing with the U.S. title match. Remember when I said that the tag team titles might be a ladder match? Maybe they make Aiden English and Rusev one of those teams that they throw in there, possibly.
Which, by the way, I did enjoy the little backstage segment between Rusev and Nakamura,
Right.
where he talked about how he's messed up his Aiden's voice, and then Nakamura surprisingly didn't sound too bad when he did his little singing about Nakamura Day or whatever it was that he sang. I enjoyed that little segment.
No, it's cool.
Yeah.
All right, then. So I think we got Nakamura all around the board.
Nakamura, yeah.
Safe to say. All right, next up, we have Bobby Roode and Randy Orton for the United States Championship.
Bobby Roode.
Ends in a no contest with outside interference from Jinder Mahal.
Probably. That's
which
good.
sets up a triple threat at WrestleMania.
All right.
It's either that or it's just a DQ that Bobby Roode gets the W and then he kicks everybody's ass. But Bobby Roode's going to end up. He'll walk out with the title.
Yeah, he does walk out with the title, yes.
Next up, the tag team titles. The Usos and the New Day, round 6, 7, 20th.
You know
I
what?
never get tired of it.
I was just going to say, they could keep feeding that to me because, you know, these guys are great. And the chemistry for these two teams.
It's kind of funny. You always go through generations of wrestling. It's like it's the guy, it's the team, or the person you were meant to be in the ring with. It's this version of it in a tag team. The New Day was meant to fight the Usos.
The tag team division has been floundering for years. Now, it's been on a bit of a lift the last year or two, probably 2 or 3 years maybe. It's getting there, and it's been rebuilt back to being something relevant that people buy into. Case in point, they managed to take two guys, Cesaro and Sheamus, take that series that they had and turn them into a tag team that people were really invested in. I love every match that I see these guys have. And as many as they've had, it's like the Miz Dolph thing. As many matches as these guys have had, they always find a way to make it something different. And
I know.
come out half the time stealing the show.
To put it this way, when I went to go to Battleground, they were the first match on the card, and they were the best match of the night. Not taking anything away from Owens and AJ, but New Day and Usos were the best match.
Oh, yeah. So
I have a comment here.
Okay,
We're gonna get to Kristen's comment. Well, we can do it after we finish with this match. But I'm gonna say Usos here.
See, what I was going to ask,
Or it could be a schmoz with the
Bludgeon
the
Brothers.
Bludgeon
See,
Brothers
that's what
setting up the
I
triple
was going
threat.
to ask was the question was, whoever wins this match are going to be the ones to drop the titles to the Bludgeon Brothers eventually. So who do you think?
The Usos.
Okay.
I just don't see the point in taking the titles off of them for the New Day to drop the titles at Mania.
Fair enough.
I think in some way it's going to end up being a triple threat. You can't not have the New Day on the card 2 years in a row.
No.
So I figure the Bludgeon Brothers will probably walk out of WrestleMania with the titles. They'll just keep them on the Usos.
Well, but here's a different angle on this though. So the Bar on Raw has been claiming over the last couple weeks that they don't have an opponent for WrestleMania and no one is good enough to step up and challenge them for WrestleMania. Could we see the New Day switching brands at WrestleMania and taking those titles and having the Usos go 2-on-2 with the Bludgeon Brothers?
You could. I think that's a program we haven't seen.
It would be interesting because the New Day lost their tag titles to the Bar
a long time ago.
A long time ago.
But it does bring it back full circle where the New Day
Correct.
says, oh, okay, you beat us that long ago.
Right.
It's been an entire year since then.
Although I do happen to think also that the Matt Jackson tweet was awesome. When they, for those that don't know, Matt Jackson of the Young Bucks, when I guess it was Cesaro, was it Cesaro or Sheamus?
Right.
Tweeted out that they didn't have an opponent for WrestleMania, and Matt Jackson tweeted, "We happen to have that date available."
Yeah.
I thought that was phenomenal, which I'm not a Bucks guy.
Me neither.
But I thought him just kind of dropping that out there was amazing.
Of course.
Could you just imagine, though, seeing Sheamus and Cesaro just hurling those guys up in the air?
I got two questions on Facebook. We'll go through the two before we move on. We got the women's title match next.
Mm-hmm.
Kristen Gideon says, "Hey guys, do you think that Carmella will use her Money in the Bank contract either at Fastlane or WrestleMania? I believe the year is almost up. I have my opinion. I'll let you gentlemen jump in here first."
I will actually throw out that maybe she does use it at Fastlane, but at the same time, you do have WrestleMania. But I would say if you do it at Fastlane, you can build up Charlotte versus Carmella and actually have a legitimate program running into WrestleMania because Carmella stole the title from Charlotte after she beat Ruby to retain it.
Well, if you're not doing Asuka, then yeah, I could see that.
I mean, it's not exactly the mover or the shaker for Charlotte, but it is something for her to do at
Right.
WrestleMania.
No, I hear you. No, I could see that maybe as a possibility.
I think that Carmella holds on to that briefcase until just before the next Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and they start kind of like getting on her like, hey, Money in the Bank's coming up and you haven't used that briefcase yet. Like, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? And then literally like the last Raw or SmackDown before the pay-per-view, she cashes in, she loses, and then she wins the Money in the Bank match again at the pay-per-view. Because honestly, that briefcase is the only thing that keeps her relevant.
This is true.
And if they like her as much as, Triple H and Vince supposedly do like her, then the only way to keep her around and relevant is to keep that briefcase with her.
And it would actually make sense, though, because it's kind of like she's that annoying little heel that got away with having the briefcase for a whole year. She screwed up and she lost it, but she got it right back, so it doesn't matter.
I say no to Fastlane because Charlotte is going to be the champion at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That's terrible booking if they take the title off Charlotte the month before WrestleMania.
They took the title off Sasha a month before WrestleMania last year.
What
they do that a lot.
What I'm kind of seeing the way things play out, I almost feel like Asuka's not going to go to SmackDown. She's going to face Alexa. And I don't know who Charlotte's opponent would be at Mania. It could be Becky Lynch. It's been a while since we've seen Becky in that spot. I don't know. But I almost feel like in the year of firsts, no bigger spot than for Carmella to cash in at WrestleMania.
It's possible.
And it's just because of the way that they've done everything's a first. And I'm happy about it because I think that women, especially with how great the talent they have now is, should have these opportunities. But in the year of first where they let you know it's the year of first of everything, no bigger spot than to do it at WrestleMania. She won't do it against Asuka, though.
Okay. The only reason, and literally only reason that I would disagree with you is because I do feel like they're going to go forward with the Nia-Alexa match, which then leaves Asuka and Charlotte. If they can somehow prolong the Nia and Alexa program to SummerSlam, then you could absolutely go the direction you're talking about.
That's actually how I feel. So I almost feel like this Nia arm injury and all this stuff and the psychological thing that she has, which, by the way, if you don't watch Total Divas, they took what is real life insecurities that she has and really, with her best friend, put it on screen to create more of a storyline. I could see them holding off till SummerSlam for that now. And when I saw the way that carried out, that's more I started changing my mind. I don't know if Nia's going to be in that match at WrestleMania.
And then it's entirely possible.
Slow burn. They've been done a lot of that lately. You can hold off Bayley and Sasha for this long.
Hey, I actually prefer the slow burn.
Me too.
If it makes sense.
And I think in this case it makes sense.
I hate when they rush or hot shot angles.
I think in this case it would make sense. You could even take Nia off of TV for a little while and let that kind of stew.
Yeah. You know what? That's been their main problem. They hot shot the wrong angles. They slow burn the ones
right.
they're not supposed to slow burn.
That's what they
do. That's what they've been doing the entire year.
So I think Asuka is going to be the title contender against Alexa, and I don't know who it's going to be with Charlotte, but I think there's a very good possibility if Carmella is going to cash in beforehand, it's going to be at WrestleMania.
All right, so obviously no need to go into who's going to win Charlotte versus Ruby. We all pretty much are saying Charlotte, so we're going to move on from that one.
J Mill, we're going to finish up the card here because we're finishing up, and then I'll get J Mill's question in.
All right, so the main event of the evening, AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn versus Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler versus John Cena and a partridge in a pear tree in the WWE Championship match.
I think it's AJ. I'm just going to leave it at that. I think a lot of storylines are going to come out of this. I don't know what's going to happen with Corbin and what's going to happen with Dolph. I know you're on the KO train, and then
KO Mania 3, baby.
I love the shirt. I'm going to buy every KO Mania shirt. I have last year's. Did you see the shirt this year?
Yes, it's awesome.
Where he split his two pictures of himself and miniaturized the one side. It's so good. I can't wait to buy that shirt. I'm going to wear it at Mania again. I wore the KO Mania one last year.
I'm going to go with AJ on this one only because the way that they played Elimination Chamber was safe. I'm going to say they do the same thing at Fastlane. They're going to play it safe here and just have AJ win the match.
Yeah, I think you get AJ and Nakamura. I think you're going to get Zayn and you're going to get Kevin Owens. I think Cena then moves, and Cena has nowhere to go. So then The Undertaker's going to come out. And again, Baron Corbin and Ziggler, I don't care.
I mean,
wherever they end up.
Do you?
They could be a tag team that comes together and crosses over to Raw and challenges the bar.
Too, yeah.
That is true.
There's been rumors of them putting them together.
One thing I will say is this with John Cena. Now, he already talked about breaking history and stuff like that and all that. Do you see him doing it later this year, like beating either AJ or Nakamura or somebody for the WWE Championship later on in the year to officially break Ric Flair's record and be an 18-time world champion?
I don't know if I see it happening this year.
17 time.
Oh, yeah, 17 time. Duh.
I don't know if I see it happening.
17 would break it. He's tied with him right now.
Yeah. I don't know
where
my
mind
was going on that one.
I feel like because it always is, the 10s and the 5s are always the really big manias. Mm-hmm. I could see them wait until 35 and putting the title on him at 35 to close out the show. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
When it's going to happen, I don't know. It's going to happen. I don't know that I see it this year. There's so much going on this year.
Bro, real quick, for our college basketball fans, we have two finals. Nova 94, Marquette 70 in the Big East tournament. And in the Atlantic Athletic Conference tournament, Temple 82, Tulane 77.
There you go.
Try to get Frank to get us some updates
I
on
got,
the Sixers.
I got the other scores on the other side
What do
of
you got?
the
Sixers
pros.
and Flyers?
Right now, the Flyers, they just started period 3. The score is 2 apiece.
Okay.
And the Sixers right now, they are – I'm going to do one quick refresh. I know the score might have changed. 5 minutes left into the third quarter. Your 10-9-8 76ers are up 64-62 on Miami.
Nice.
All right.
Okay.
Tight game, but they're up. Very nice. J. Mill asks –
nice.
Very nice.
Delightful.
Delightful. J. Mill asks, speaking of, do you see Jeff Hardy going to SmackDown or come back as Brother Nero on Raw when he returns? We talked
Both.
about this.
Well, here's what I'm going to say.
Both.
Here, I'll say this, because now they have teased the Ultimate Deletion.
Oh, there's no
at the heart.
tease. It's going to happen.
Yeah, and now that the Ultimate Deletion is set to happen, Brother Nero will come out of the lake of reincarnation and drag Bray Wyatt.
That's what we said.
underneath.
I absolutely think that's when you're going to get Jeff Hardy's return. It's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be Brother Nero. It might.
It better be Brother
will
Nero
be.
if he's coming out of the lake of reincarnation.
But I think that you are going to get that return at Mania. He's been one of those guys who's rumored to be now healthy.
Mm-hmm.
They're holding him out for the right moment.
Well, I love the fact that they, Matt Hardy, Rebby Hardy, the whole deal. I mean, they're on Twitter and they're
Senor Benjamin.
Yeah, like
Benjamin.
they're talking. It will be what did Matt say? It will be a renaissance of my entire kingdom. Queen Rebecca, King Maxwell, Senor Benjamin, Vanguard 1. If Vanguard 1 gets a high spot,
oh God,
that'd be great.
I will mark the hell out.
Rob says, or will it be Willow?
Willow.
Ooh. Willow of the Wisp.
And he also says, the Bucks of Youth.
The Bucks
Hashtag
of
deleted.
For those that don't know, Willow of the Wisp was the character that Jeff Hardy used to wrestle under a mask.
Yes.
when he was 14 years old so that he could wrestle
when
on
he was
adult shows.
yeah.
Yeah.
And wasn't that the same gimmick when him and Matt started Omega or something? That was like one of their first gimmicks.
Yeah, and then they kind of brought back Willow for a little bit in Impact.
A couple of times.
TNA.
Couple of times.
Even when they were jobbing in WWE, he did do some independent shows as well. The Wisp.
Kristen Gideon says, even though I love John Cena and always root for him to win, I'm going with AJ Styles to win the match. I believe him and Nakamura will have a great match at WrestleMania. I agree.
And I
I'm
think
with
they
you,
would.
Kristen.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%, Kristen. I think Matty's on board with that too.
Yeah, Todd Womack's even saying, "Hell no, it just needs to be AJ versus Nakamura." At
Yeah,
WrestleMania."
I think Vince has such a hard on to get back at New Japan, and that would be smart if they could play up that angle.
If they could.
I mean, I don't. There's no reason they can't mention that they wrestled in New Japan. They could not say New Japan, but they could say they had a historic match in Japan on the hugest stage of Japan. They could absolutely play that up.
I'm with you.
Oh no, I thought Matty was going to read another.
Oh, I'm looking through them. I was getting ready to wait for the break there. Todd Womack going on to say. He said, God, I do miss head chair shots, though, but glad they made it safe. Well, I don't think you want to see another one of those Mankind getting his head split open by The Rock on a chair shot.
I'm not going to lie. I don't miss that stuff.
Yeah.
It was cool back in the day, but now I look at it and all the shit I've learned about head injuries. I'm like, nah, it's cool.
I'm surprised Mick's not dead for just the fact that he took those many chair shots to the head alone.
That Royal Rumble match in '99 was, if you go back and watch it, it's uncomfortable to watch.
Oh, yeah.
It is uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah. Although it was kind of funny how they brought it full circle in 2000. Triple H tried to do the same thing to Cactus Jack, and The Rock said, fuck you. That's not how this goes down. And he stopped it from happening.
Oh, I have to say, I wanted to say this about the ultimate deletion. Just from that preview.
Mm-hmm.
It looks so I really truly believe they're giving Matt some of the creative, because it looked.
I think he gets. I think he gets the majority of the creative.
It looked just like the TNA version, which was what got it there. And
that's legitimately his house,
right?
Yeah.
And I think that we had talked about, and I loved it, dragging the boat and everything. They had the fucking boat was there, but you talk about it, and it's like we kept saying, okay, has it been presented spectacular? What happened?
What?
He's coming. The king is coming.
The king is coming to Philly.
LeBron?
Yeah, he's looking at houses in Jersey.
LeBron is looking at houses in Jersey. This is from Tom Arnaud.
Yeah. What are the names of the private schools?
He's looking at schools.
Oh.
But there's credible source.
Listen,
Credible source. Well, I
There
did
we
send
go.
you the thing
All
earlier
right.
with LeBron.
So breaking news.
Oh.
Breaking news. We have LeBron.
We got to have a
James
powwow after the show. We
looking
got to
at
touch on that.
houses and private schools in New Jersey.
Wow.
And LeBron also had a list. You know, the Sixers are on the floor.
Oh, boy.
But the focus is now shifted from the main line of Philadelphia to Jersey, and we've now added houses to the schools. When you start adding houses to schools, shit just got real.
I guess we can officially add a NBA championship to the trophy case right next to the little All right. So,
I wanted to say though,
Sure.
I'm loving it, and I really, his creative mind to come up with all that,
amazing.
and it's very clear. Oh, we said that. Give it time. It hasn't been presented right. At some points, I would border to say it's been a little bit annoying the way that they presented. Kind of a little more over the top than even that was.
Right.
With his actual, laughing and all that. But if they pull this off the way I really feel like now after seeing that clip they're going to pull it off, this will be everything we wanted and more when this gimmick finally is coming to WWE.
And the other piece of this, too, is I'd be willing to bet that anything that they wanted to do when they did it in TNA and they weren't permitted to do will now be brought to fruition as well.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I wonder what they're going to do moving forward. And if they do the Jeff Hardy brother Nero thing, they may not necessarily do tagging. That may not even necessarily be where they put them. They may have it simple where brother Nero has his enemies in his path, Woken does his thing. They don't necessarily have to be a tag team for it to be.
Brother Nero,
Can
you've returned.
I knew you'd come. Yes.
And best part is, too, could you just imagine that, them haunting, like, people like The Miz just to, like, scare the crap out of him, or just, it would be hilarious, the stuff that they could get away with.
If he comes to SmackDown, though, how great of a program in-ring would Nakamura and Jeff
That'd be
Hardy
ridiculous.
matches
Oh, that'd be great.
Like, you
Or-
just think about
or
the
you could
in-ring
AJ and
talent.
Yeah,
AJ and
and
Jeff Hardy.
They haven't wrestled in years.
If you watch their matches back at TNA, they were fucking
they were
great.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Their very first night.
When he wasn't drunk.
Very first night, Jeff Hardy debuted. He faced AJ Styles
Yeah.
in a great match.
I mean, guys, that would be huge. And I'm hoping that this is everything I think it's actually going to be.
Yeah.
And people are actually going to finally get to see what everyone's talked about on the biggest stage of them all.
I do wish Air Paris wasn't out of shape and retired, because I would love to see a Hardy Boys versus AJ Styles and Air Paris match one time. That was like my 1999 tag team dream match that never took place. I went to Hardy Boys with the black and white checkered trunks against Air Paris and AJ Styles.
Oh, God.
From their jobber days.
Jabba days.
Oh, my God. That'd be hilarious.
Random, I'm throwing this in there, but it just popped in my head. Because we were going to talk about Jeff Hardy, and that's why it popped in my head. Joe's been rumored to be pretty much right there.
Ready to go, yeah.
So you talked about Braun.
Mm-hmm.
And Braun has been a rumor of Joe and Braun at WrestleMania.
I'd be perfectly
I
fine
would
with that.
love that. Or
other than the fact that there's no build-up.
Or if it's not Undertaker, it could be Samoa Joe and John Cena. Again,
Oh, that would be phenomenal.
another program. Cena comes out, I got no road, this and that, and then boom, hit the music. Samoa
Well,
Joe comes out.
That favors the fact that you don't necessarily need a program. All you need is Joe to cut a promo on Cena, and then you can just build it up from there. It's pretty much simple cut and paste.
Well,
stuff.
but
listen,
here's the thing: is
their
their
his-
real-life history
Their history
is the
comes
build-up.
back
Yeah.
to Ohio Valley Wrestling.
You go back further than that.
But-
You go back to California.
But they came up in the original WWE developmental of the same class.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Joe didn't make the cut when guys like Cena and Orton and Brock Lesnar did. Joe was kind of the odd man out
Batista,
at that time.
yeah. I mean,
Batista.
well, there was the four of them that all sort of came. Well, actually, five of them. Actually, if you go Cena, Batista, Lesnar, Orton, and Shelton Benjamin.
Right.
Like the five of them were there at the same time, and Joe kind of was like the odd man out. But even before OVW, Samoa Joe and John Cena were, traveling the highways of California, doing West Coast indies like for years together, and for it to all come full circle would be crazy.
That would be crazy.
And you could talk about that. And I don't know. They may go that far back, even if they just go back to the developmental. You talk about not a lot of time. You don't need a lot of time for that.
No.
That's three. You only need 2 or 3
Now,
weeks to build a promo, promo
But-
exchange for them too.
But to pull it back to the Braun Joe idea, that could be done at a later date. And the best way to do that would be not a submission match, not just a regular match, last man standing. Because that, to me, would work. You could have Joe just try to beat down Braun. Braun obviously could easily just slam him. And you see who the last man standing is. At least in my opinion, that could be.
My only reservation with a gimmick match like that, usually when it's on a pay-per-view, it doesn't pay off. It's just very anticlimactic. Now, when it's done on network TV, which it seems like primarily is when they pull that stipulation out, it's more of a storyline enhancer than a payoff.
Mm-hmm.
So I would see that more of something you would see on Raw or Raw. It would have to be Raw.
Well,
on Raw.
By any chance, though, if one of them has a belt, do you see that being on a pay-per-view?
No, I don't like that gimmick. I don't like that gimmick for a title. That you know what I'm saying? Putting that stipulation in. I don't like last man standing for a title. It just doesn't work for me. That's a personal feeling. Again, I just feel like it's a network. And I think WWE maybe sees it that way. Since the days of like Kane and Jericho and the Attitude Era doing it, it hasn't really worked since then in regards to a big payoff. Because it does. What does it take? You can knock a guy down, but in the end, a wrestling match is a 1-2-3 pin when you talk about payoffs.
Right.
And I think that it's more of an enhancer than it is an actual climax to a storyline. So that would be my reservation.
All right. So Ty Womack chiming in, talking about Sonya Deville being out. He says it's easier to steal a lesbian than a gay man. I don't know what he means by that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know exactly what that means either. But if he's talking about it's easier to position for social reasons, a lesbian as your person at the forefront of that movement rather than a gay man, yeah, I would agree with that. It probably is, but I mean, I don't want to get into revisionist history here, but I mean, Darren Young came out, Fred Rossner, Darren Young, the character Darren Young, I mean, he came out on a nationally syndicated talk show, and WWE, they didn't hold it against him, but to their credit, to their credit, they never held it against him, but they also acted like it never happened. And there was a lot that they could have done with that. And I'm starting to see, like I said earlier, I'm starting to see the seeds of something happening now, but rather with Daria. Because, I mean, if you look at her Twitter, up and down her Twitter, it's just, people commending her on, being out and being open about her sexuality and being, a hero for people of all ages, races, genders, sexual orientations, and she just runs with it. And, WWE retweets her stuff. Well, so there's something brewing there that will probably be a subplot somewhere along the way of the women's revolution. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be a matter of when it happens.
Oh, okay. Todd said he just said my fault. Sale. That's what he meant by sell.
He meant,
that's what he meant by that.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. It's a much easier sale, no question.
And then he also goes on to say, I still would love to see the Authors of Pain go against the Bar at WrestleMania.
Okay.
That could happen as well.
So we talked about that. I could see that happening.
Mm-hmm.
I could see Sanity being an option. I still think that you could get War Machine as a possibility. They could skip NXT and just go right to WWE.
You could.
It's going to be a surprise. I don't think you're going to get Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy. The whole Hardy compound thing, that's going to be their feature. That's where they're going to be at. And I definitely could see an NXT team. I don't know who it's going to be. I think they may just show up and say, we don't have a challenger, yada, yada, yada. At Mania, that's where it's booked right there.
Okay.
Do you see them doing like a quick gag where they have just Heath Slater and Rhino and they just crush them, and then after that, then out of nowhere, then a real team pops out just to be like funny and goofy with it?
Maybe.
It could happen.
I mean, that's usually what WWE does. They do a goofy thing before they do something serious.
No, I can see that. Do we want to touch on a couple things we did not touch on, but with SmackDown and Raw? So let's just kind of pull that back up here. So we went over the Ultimate Deletion. Mm. We did touch on the Intercontinental title picture. Two things we really didn't talk about.
Wait, did we get into the Intercontinental title picture?
We talked about it earlier when we were talking about Miz and Finn Balor and Seth, and I said, I wouldn't count out that they're going to add. I think Elias is going to get added to that.
You think it becomes a four-way?
And
if
the Braun thing doesn't happen, there's been rumors that Braun will get added and it'll be a fatal five-way.
Okay.
Do we still believe that? I believe that the title would change hands.
Yes,
I would say it going to Balor.
I think Finn Balor's going to win.
So that way they can take him and they can put him in his rivalry with Seth Rollins or what have you, and they can fight over the Intercontinental title.
I do agree with that. Yes, I would absolutely agree with that. Two things: Ronda Rousey, Kurt Angle versus Steph and Triple H. It's official.
Mm-hmm.
How do we feel about the way this went? Again, I know people have issues with Ronda's promos. Whatever. It's fine. She missed the cue with the drum roll. I think the drum roll was stupid anyway.
Well, that was dumb.
It was
unnecessary.
just I don't even know. Like, I saw it on YouTube. I'm like, all right, here's the drum roll. And then all of a sudden it's like, what the hell just happened?
just like,
Come
you.
on, Ron.
You know, in fairness, too, she called for the drum roll, and they delayed to do the drum roll, too.
Or they could have had the fans do the drum roll instead of the sound effect.
Either
but.
that
I think
or
it's a nitpick.
maybe Steph
Yeah.
got drunk and she said, "Oh, you know what would be really awesome is if we had a drum roll before Ronda announces her opponent." Like, no, just have her
just
announce
have her say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with that, so let's break it down. The two contracts, you have your in-ring contract and you have your executive contracts. How'd you feel about that, guys? Were you okay with that? Is that something you nitpick at and say, oh, how do you have two contracts?
I mean, the whole
I'm just going through things that
see
people
the silly
nitpick
thing
at.
about it is that like it's never been brought up in any situation pertaining to somebody in the front office before. You know, at no point. And this even goes back to last year. So why are we doing that now? It's
Right.
just it to me it's just one of those silly things where, you know, Kurt was just throwing it out there, I think, to kind of build it up to the announcement that, okay, it's going to be
Right.
Ronda versus Stephanie and then me versus Triple H, you know, as
Right.
a tag team. I think that's what he was trying to do there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I had no issue with it. I liked the way it was carried out. We got to see Ronda be a little physical finally.
Yes.
Steph took a hell of a bump going down. That was a hell of a Samoan drop. You got to see Kurt and Triple H. I almost thought originally when he first tried to put the ankle lock on that Kurt was just kind of out of practice. When he had it on backwards, it looked like he was kind of stumbling around, but then it turned out they were just positioning so he can kick him into the corner.
Right.
But, I mean, it did enough for me to get excited about it. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I was good with it. I didn't have a problem with it at all.
I personally liked it. I mean, you know, though, I would have done one thing. I would have actually waited for Ronda to get her hands on Steph.
Yeah.
Until WrestleMania. I mean, maybe that just a minor nitpick, but I was fine with, you know, what they did.
Yeah, no, so I thought about that first. I was a little surprised that she put Frank's laughing.
Frank's laughing at something. We have no idea what he's laughing about.
He said it was Rosca. Rosca must have put something up.
Rosca says Triple H is the Nikolai
Ceausescu
and Stephanie McMahon is the
Elena
Elena
Ceausescu
of WWE.
What the hell, Rosca? Comparing McMahon and Helmsley to the Ceausescus. What the hell?
All right, mute your mic again. We
I
have
don't
3
know.
minutes left.
Yeah, what
Go a couple extra minutes here.
what the hell?
I don't even know who the Ceausescus are.
They're Romanian dictators, and they got overthrown in like '89, and then they were taken to court, and then they were immediately sentenced to firing squad.
Oh, nice.
There's a video of it on YouTube if you'd like to see it.
Okay, Rosca.
David
Rosca.
Rosca, come
Okay,
on.
Rosca.
Did
New
anybody
rule.
watch the Steph Booby Bounce meme? Or GIF?
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
But
Sorry,
by
I
the
threw
way,
that
new
out
rule
there.
for Rosca. Please make any jokes that you have or any analogies, make them something we understand. Please do that. We're not going to get rid of the Mandy Rose. You can keep doing that, but please make it something we know.
The Stephanie Booby Bounce GIF was awesome, though.
Yes, it was.
FYI. But no,
It always is.
I mean, I was cool with that program. So the other thing I actually had an issue with it, and I love Paul Heyman promos. Was anybody else perplexed by this promo where he talks about you have to love it and desire
yeah.
the title, and you have to be there for it always? And then he talks about how much Brock loves it, and he has to be there for it and do everything for it, and he's never fucking on the show. And I
Well,
love Brock.
and
I
I-
have no problem with not being on the show.
I think
just didn't
the-
get the point of the promo.
I think there's some bitterness there somewhere along the way because he referenced, you know, you get a phone call on a Sunday that your father is ill, but you have a big pay-per-view match coming up, so you can't leave on Sunday, and you can't leave on Monday because you have to do Raw, and then you can't leave on Tuesday because you have to do SmackDown, so you don't get to go see your ailing father until Wednesday. You need to love the title more than you love your family. So what I was trying to figure out was there a situation where that happened to Brock and he wasn't able to leave and go handle family obligations? Or was there a situation with Roman where Roman was supposed to be on a pay-per-view and he was just like, family situation, gotta go, and took off right away? And then now Heyman is shooting on him.
Yeah, I don't
See,
know. I just thought it was bizarre.
It's weird because it's just like if there's no real facts to that, and he's just kind of shooting from the hip, and he's trying to do something to create this kind of feeling of Brock being a true champion. That's kind of a weird thing to say, considering the fact that Brock would probably go see his father and say screw it to WWE, just because Brock is not really obligated besides his dates. And he's already shown before he's more than willing to say screw it and go back to UFC.
Well, I like to think I'm a pretty well-informed person. I read a lot of stuff. But if you're going to do a quote-unquote shoot promo, a working shoot, typically it should be about something that's a well-known fact.
You would think.
Yeah.
And that was just a little bizarre for me. And again, just with the context of Brock, he positioned it like Brock's there every fucking week, and he's not.
Right.
So it was a little bizarre to me.
He's not even there every month.
Yeah.
Wonderfully presented promo, but this was one I felt like it fell a little bit short. It was just perplexing to me.
Maybe we should have saw, annotations or like just kind of dialogue underneath and say, you know what? I got nothing. I'm just throwing shit out there because Brock can't be here this week. That's pretty much what it seems like now.
Yeah. Let's take 5 minutes, and then we're going to go off the air. Let's hit that NXT North American title. So, obviously, ladder match.
We're going 9:35?
Like 35, 36, something. We're just going to take 5 minutes and talk about this here. So,
well, we got the King coming up after us. Why don't we just go to 40? We'll take a quick break. We'll get him down, and we'll go.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we'll go 9.
Yeah.
That
So
works.
let's talk. Yeah, because it was our poll question. I want to make sure we talk about
All right, so you guys are going to cover the poll question, and then you're going to have –
We're gonna jump off, and then when he wants to hop back on, we're gonna do that.
all right.
So let's talk about this. All right, so William Regal or Steven Regal, whatever you want to call him. I still like Steven.
Steve.
Obviously,
Not to be confused with the jobber Steve Regal.
NXT has announced with beautiful Bobby Eaton as his tag partner, the Blue Bloods.
The Blue Bloods, yes.
So obviously, they have announced that there's going to be a secondary title, which I love, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It does give more meaning, more programs, because I feel like they're getting a little bit cluttered now as far as this talent that they've bought in. So it gives something else for these guys to fight over and kind of spread them out. Huge cards, though. It's a 6-way ladder match. Freaking huge talent. So let me just read it off. So, Adam Cole.
Baby!
Versus Ricochet, versus EC3, versus Killian Dane, versus Lars Sullivan, versus Velveteen Dream.
Now, question for you. EC3 had not yet been on NXT TV.
Correct.
Prior to the angle that started this. Had Ricochet been on NXT TV either?
I don't believe so.
So the announcement of the angle will be 2 TV debuts to go along with Adam Cole, Lars Sullivan, Velveteen Dream, and Killian Dane.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, I mean they're really they're going for the jugular with this NXT takeover. And I look at this, so if I'm looking at 2 guys as possible winners because I see, to me, Velveteen Dream and Ricochet with their Twitter exchanges, there's going to be a program between those 2 that comes out of this.
So you don't think either of them needs the belt to...
They don't need it for a great program. But I could see Velveteen Dream taking the title and then having a title program.
Okay.
My only concern with that is then, with NXT, though, they change titles because they're so few and far between. They can change a title the next pay-per-view. But I was going to say, I don't see Ricochet coming in as a big free agent and then taking an L. Because I don't know if I would take the title right off of Patrick Clark.
Right.
But I could see EC3 winning the title here, giving him something meaningful. I don't think it's going to be Adam Cole because I think the end game for Cole right now, because they have the title picture with CN, I think CN drops the title to Aleister Black, and then you get the Cole-Aleister Black program building up to TakeOver. So I'm taking Cole out, and it's a way that you can protect him by not taking the L.
Yeah, the only piece of that I disagree with at all with the Ricochet thing is you could have Ricochet take multiple L's to Velveteen if they're not completely clean losses. Because the one thing that Triple H always says is that guys don't go to NXT to learn how to win. They go to NXT to learn how to win.
Right.
They go to NXT to learn how to work and to learn how to lose.
Right.
Because you have to lose and still maintain credibility.
Correct.
So I think you would actually get more of a build with Ricochet if he kept getting screwed by Patrick Clark, Velveteen Dream, in these title matches, because the thrill would then be in the chase instead of the kill.
Right. No,
but I hear what you're saying. Like, if it was EC3, I'd be like, yeah, you don't bring him in to put an L on him right away. Right. But for Ricochet, I think you could handle it a little differently.
Well, the thing is that Velveteen, it depends. Would Ricochet be a babyface or a heel? Because
he's working babyface.
He's working huge babyface.
Okay, so Velveteen would have to pull kind of heel tactics to keep Ricochet off of him.
Yeah,
and do you think that could have him turn heel, or do you think
he is heel?
Yeah, he's a heel.
He's
all intents and purposes.
But he's over enough to where he can play it off. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean he's cheered because his fucking character is
awesome. Because his gimmick is
and
awesome.
His music is awesome.
Okay, he's a Kevin Owens. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I see if I'm picking one, I see EC3 taking the title here.
I'm going Velveteen.
I'm going to go Velveteen.
Okay. So we'll definitely talk more about that. And again, guys, tune in next week because we're really going to – this week's going to start after Sunday. We're really going to see where things shake out and the Mania card starts to wrap up. So, guys, thanks for –
was there anything that we had not covered?
No, that was everything.
One last thing, because I know we got a couple minutes before we get to 40.
Yeah.
Do we see a possible return of Drew McIntyre at either at WrestleMania in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, or does he return to NXT before advancing to the main roster
I think he'll come back to NXT.
Okay.
I think he'll be a guy that you'll see come up after TakeOver.
Okay.
I don't know what his fit will be at TakeOver.
He returns like the first TV taping after WrestleMania weekend.
Does he come back and you put the North American title on EC3 and you have McIntyre and EC3
and it's
NXT
TakeOver. It's a ready-made program.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. They had a pretty damn good feud in Impact when there wasn't a whole lot going on with Impact. So that's where I see that going.
Okay. So, and they said that there is a takeover in, is it Phoenix? Before SummerSlam? It's why am I, it's June. It's not King of the Ring. It's,
No, you're talking about,
wait a minute.
No, so WrestleMania, is in April. We
Right.
go all the way to August to SummerSlam.
SummerSlam.
There's something happening in May or June where they're going to do another
The greatest Royal Rumble. I saw that's coming up.
Well, that's in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
But they're going to do another NXT TakeOver late spring, early summer. Which
I'll have to look into it. We'll talk about that next couple weeks.
That.
But yeah, great stuff, guys. Great conversation.
Definitely.
We're gonna hop off now. We're gonna do our powwow. We got I think LeBron talk coming. But Mikey, thanks for coming back, buddy.
I'm gonna stay on because I gotta. Well, we didn't do Tom and Mike last night because of the blizzard, so maybe I'll get a little impromptu Tom and Mike AM in the PM.
Absolutely, Mikey. Or Matty. I'm calling him Matty.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Switching names
Matty,
everywhere. It's great.
Frank Vespi on the ones and twos.
Frank producing a great show. Thanks again, Frank.
No problem.
Guys, thank you for joining us on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, wherever you joined us. Make sure you check back with us next week. The Road to WrestleMania will officially finally kick off once we get past Fastlane. Matty, give us that readout to this beautiful music.
All right, then. Well, this beautiful music and this beautiful show was brought to you by Gibson Air LLC, your certified public accountants located at 301 Oxford Valley Road in Yardley, PA. You can give them a call, 215-369-3300. Remember, tax season is here, so be ready, be prepared. Get Gibson Air.
Guys, we'll check you next week. Smell you later.
Everybody